How are you guys doing? Today is Saturday, December 4th, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to do an elite individual profile on Blake Snell. Blake Snell, the elite starting pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays now, is turning 29, and because we are now in the MLB offseason, I'm going to do a complete profile of what Blake Snell has been able to do from the moment that he stepped into the majors to where he is now. And considering there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that are competing for his spot, I do believe that Blake Snell definitely deserves the recognition for being the top level player that he is. And being recognized as one of the best pitchers in baseball while in your prime, I think is an incredible accomplishment. And now he's found himself on a different team, which very well could find themselves in the World Series if they make a couple good moves and if a couple things go right, as he is in quite a favorable situation as he is now in San Diego. I digress, and getting into his story of what makes Blake Snell. He's originally from Seattle, Washington, and he would go on to be taken out of the 2011 MLB draft after he would end up getting drafted out of high school pretty early. He would end up getting called up to the official major leagues in his age 23 season in 2016 as a member of the Tampa Bay Rays organization. In his very first season that year, he would go on to start 19 games in a season in which the Tampa Bay Rays would go all the way to the end and finish with a 68-94 record, the worst record in the AL East. Just to give a sense of where they were when they started, they had won 12 less games in the year prior, and their 68 games they had won that year is the least amount of games that they've won since being named the Tampa Bay Rays. In his very first season there, he would go on to finish with a 6-8 record as he had a 3.54 ERA. In the 89 innings he pitched, he, of course, would allow 93 hits. That's 9 more hits than innings pitched. He would also go on to strike out 98 batters as he had 9 more strikeouts than innings pitched that year. At the conclusion of that season, of course, the Tampa Bay Rays would fail to make the playoffs, and they would try to come back the next season a little stronger. His second season when Tampa Bay was his age 24 season in 2017. In that year, he found himself getting more responsibility as a starter. He started 24 games in a season in which the Rays would finish with an 80-82 record. They would miss the playoffs yet again as they had 12 more wins than the prior year. In that 2017 year, Blake Snell would go on to finish with a 5-7 record as he posted a 4.04 ERA, a little worse than what he did his freshman or his rookie year, but of course he was still kind of getting a little better. In the 129 innings he pitched, which is the second most amount of innings he's pitched in a full season, by the way, he would allow 113 hits. That's 16 less hits than innings pitched. He would go on to strike out 119 batters. That's 10 less strikeouts than innings pitched. But altogether, he was really kind of putting it all together as the next season would be the season where he really took off as one of the best pitchers in baseball. In just his age 25 season in 2018, Blake Snell will go on to start 31 games in a season in which the Rays would finish with a 90-win season. They would just miss the playoffs. But of course, Blake Snell will go on to show how impressive of an individual season he could put together individually. In that year, he would go on to be named the Cy Young in his very first and his lone All-Star season in this league. He would go on to finish with a 21-5 record, leading the American League in wins. He would finish with a 1.89 ERA, the first time his ERA has dipped below 3.5, and it would be the only time his ERA has been below 3. And, of course, the only time it's been below 2. He led the American League in ERA. He would finish with 221 strikeouts on the year, which was close to the top, but the only stat that kept him from the Triple Crown was strikeouts. In the 180 innings he pitched, his 221 strikeouts are 41 more than innings pitched. He would also allow 112 hits in those 180 innings pitched. That is 68 less hits than innings pitched. He would lead the AL in ERA plus at 217, meaning his ERA was 117 points better than the average pitcher in the league. He would also lead the American League in hits per 9 innings, as he only allowed 5.6, the only time in his career that he's allowed less than 7. So that would give a sense of how individually dynamic that season was for him, even though the Rays failed to make the playoffs. After that, the Rays would make the playoffs for the next 3 years. But of course, this would transition into Blake Snell's fourth season with the team in his age 26 season in 2019. In that season, he would go on to start all 23 of the games he played in a season in which the Tampa Bay Rays would win or would finish with the second best record in the American League East at 96-66. They had won 6 more games in the prior season and made it even through the wild card series. But in that season, he will go on to finish with a 6-8 record, finishing with a 4.29 ERA, as his ERA and numbers kind of went back up to what it was before. But in 2019, he was dealing with his own injury himself. He had to undergo arthroscopic surgery to remove some loose bodies from his left elbow. Out of the games he did play, in the 107 innings he pitched, he had 96 hits, which is 11 less hits than innings pitched, making it the third year in a row he had less hits than innings. He would strike out 147 batters in those 107 innings. That's 40 more strikeouts than innings pitched. The second year in a row, he had more strikeouts than innings pitched. But once that season was over, the Rays would go on to win their wild card game over the Athletics. They would end up losing in 5 to the Astros in the American League Division Series, as the Astros went on to represent the American League in the World Series that year, just to lose to the Nationals. Following that season, Blake Snell would come back to the Rays for his 5th and final season as a starter. In 2020, of course, the season was shortened to, of course, deal with the fact that COVID would knock a good chunk of the season out. In that 2020 season, in Blake Snell's age 27 season, he would go on to start 11 games for a Tampa Bay Rays team that would go on to finish with the best record in the American League East. This is when Kevin Cash won the Manager of the Year. In the 11 games he started, he would go on to finish with a 4-2 record, finishing with a 3.24 ERA. In the 50 innings he pitched, he would allow 42 hits, which is 8 less hits than innings pitched. The 4th year in a row he did that. He had 63 strikeouts. That's 13 more strikeouts than innings pitched. This is the 4th time in his 5-year career that he had more strikeouts than innings pitched. I'm sorry, that would be the 5th year in a row that he did it. I was reading it. Or no. I was reading it right first. This is the 4th year in his first 5 years, in his 5-year stint in Tampa Bay, in which he had more strikeouts than innings pitched. And then not to mention that he would go on to lead the American League in wild pitches, as he had 7 of them. Once that season came to an end, the Rays would go all the way to the World Series after they beat the Blue Jays 2-0. They beat the Yankees in 5, 3-2. They beat the Astros in 7, the reigning AL champs, as this time they would actually pass them. They beat them in 7 games. They would go all the way to the World Series just to lose to the Dodgers in 6 after the Dodgers had recently acquired Mookie Betts. And following that 2020 season, Blake Snell would, of course, play his last full season that he would play, as he would end up getting traded to the San Diego Padres in exchange for a bunch of prospects and younger players, not just prospects. He would go on to miss a couple of starts due to food poisoning and, of course, shoulder tightness. But in this first full season with the San Diego Padres, he would go on to start 27 games in a season where the Padres would finish with a 79-83 record, the 3rd best record in the NL West. This last season, he will go on to finish with a 7-6 record, posting a 4.20 ERA. In the 128 innings he pitched, he would go on to allow 101 hits. That is 27 less hits than innings pitched. This would, of course, be the 5th year in a row that he was able to record less hits than innings pitched. He would go on to strike out 170 batters, making it the 5th time in his 6-year career that he was able to do that as well. His 170 strikeouts last season are the 2nd most amount of strikeouts he's put together in a season. And now that the Padres season is over, this of course leads us to where we are right now, as Blake Snell is one of the best pitchers in baseball. And I do think that once you guys get a chance to see what he's able to do, I can't wait to see what he does this upcoming season with the Padres. After this first season, it's very tough to adjust to a completely new league, moving from the American League to the National League. But I imagine once he gives it a couple of games, I do think that Blake Snell can definitely get a lot done for this Padres team, as this Padres team does look promising. Thanks for listening to this piece. I hope all is well. I want to thank the Pro Baseball Reference website, even the MLB sites, for giving me everything that I need. And I do want to wish Blake Snell a happy 29th birthday today, as of course today is December 4th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. Thanks for listening. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more after this. And hopefully by this time next year, I'll have a lot more to talk about when it comes to Blake Snell. But Blake Snell is definitely deserving of a profile here, even though he's played one full season up until now. That one full season was a Cy Young season, so of course pay attention to that. Thanks for listening. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more. If you ever get a chance to watch Blake Snell, he wears number 4 for the Padres and starts about every 5th game. Thanks for listening, and peace out.